Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Michael Shea in the Lakeland, Florida office of Transworld. I am here with Shannon Gismondi. Good afternoon, Shannon.
Hello, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I will see you tomorrow morning at networking. Anyways,
Yes, sir.
the reason I wanted to record this was Shannon was in my office the other day and told me how well their business was going. And I never did a follow-up, stop moving the phone, a follow-up discussion on, hey, how was the process? So Shannon is from Canada. And how long you been here now?
It'll be eight months.
8 months.
Past 8.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to do a lessons learned in history. And when did we first connect and how?
I want to say it was December 2021 was the first time I messaged you. Then I got on the phone with you come February because I had messaged other business brokers, but
Nobody answered?
No answers. And then I also had ones that questions weren't answered correct. Like, I shouldn't say correctly, but I had watched a few of your YouTube videos and what they were saying versus what I was hearing wasn't lining up. So
And you were in like cold frozen land during COVID, right?
It was cold.
Right. So you were wanting to get out of Canada due to COVID and COVID craziness and the lockdowns, and you're a Disney freak, right? So that was the reason why.
I'm a theme park, so I like both.
So we talked in February. When did you finally show up?
July of 22.
So what, 6-8 months later?
Oh, it was a year and a bit. Yes.
Yeah, a year and a bit.
Yeah.
So I remember you, and I had not ever talked to Alex, and then Alex walks in and you walk in, and I think I had a bad day in the afternoon, and I said we could go through a lot of, I'll never forget what I said. I said I could take you through the dance and show you 3 or 4 things, but I really know what you're going to buy.
Right.
And you walked out and said, or you and Alex, I don't remember who it was, we're like, okay, well, why don't we just buy what you tell us to buy? Which is a little scary because, you know, you're putting a little bit of ridiculous trust and faith in me having never met me.
Right.
And I wanted to show you other stuff, but the guy you bought the business, what did you buy? I already know, but so everyone knows.
We bought a franchise called Garage Experts.
And what does Garage Experts do?
We do epoxy flooring, cabinet storage.
And the guy who sold it to you, oddly enough, was a dual citizen, right? Canadian and American. So you guys had that funny accent together. And so it was kind of like you hit it off. Alex and him get along really well. They still do, right? They still talk. Now Lakeland's not the typical place everybody moves to. I remember driving to Kissimmee. You were staying in some vacation rental, and you know, hey, I was trying to sell Lakeland to your kids, which is a little challenging. But do you like Lakeland?
I do love Lakeland. It feels like home, just minus the winter.
Okay. Good people.
Good people. Yes. Very friendly. A lot of great families. Joined a few networking things and had my kids joining clubs, and they're
how'd business. So when you bought the business, what was it doing?
So basically we go based on jobs. So he was doing 2 jobs a week. One at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week. He was working just by himself. So now we're at 5 jobs a week. Pretty much steady. We have been able to hire someone, which was what we were told to do basically as fast as possible, was to at least hire someone. Well, one, so that I don't have to do the epoxy flooring, but also because it just streamlines it so that you get the best product, which my husband makes sure that every single job that he does he's in the garage, it's his garage. This is what he would expect for himself. So he does the same for our clients.
So talk about the visa process. What did you do?
The visa process, that was fun. Government paperwork is always fun.
Was it confusing?
It was not confusing, only because I didn't do it by myself. So I think that is definitely something that I would never from the get-go apply, because I wouldn't know one, if I'm filling it out correctly. And then you're kind of just in limbo, and I don't like being there like most people. So the visa process was really easy. We had worked with Lisa Khan, who you recommended, and she had us fill out all the important information that we needed. Any paperwork, anything was missing, and basically within 2 weeks, because we did a change of status, we didn't apply for it at one in Canada down here. In September, we applied. Within 2 weeks, Alex got his E2 visa within 2 weeks. It was a really, really quick process.
Yeah. So, prior to me and Lisa, was there like a lot of disinformation and confusion on the internet about?
100%. Everybody's an expert because they've done it. Google how to apply for an E2 visa, and you could be there for days, but everybody contradicts each other. Everybody knows more. Oh, here, subscribe. I would never suggest any.
Did I lie to you?
Hmm?
Did I lie to you?
No. That I will say that if there's one thing that you have never done, is you've never lied.
Yeah.
You've been straight. You've been and I like that. I don't like to beat around the bush. Beat around the bush, especially a process like that, could get you in big. Like you could end up in financially at a lot of money.
Yeah, and I argued a little bit with Lisa, right, on something, right, which I was right about. Don't tell Alex. We'll talk. If you want to know what that is, call me at the end and I will tell you what I was right about. We're not going to put this out for public consumption. Anyways,
No.
So we did change the status, seamless. What about when you got here? How did you acclimate quickly? Because how did you you doubled the business in a year? Not even 8 months. You doubled.
We doubled. Well, so because so we saw that there was potential for at least 50% more growth when we saw what he was doing versus what we wanted to do. Because we do storage that includes cabinetry, and Kevin wasn't doing that. It was not his field. He was not comfortable. He didn't want, and I don't blame him, because it can be cumbersome and it takes up a lot of space. But my husband is a cabinet maker by trade, and so when he heard that this was included within that business model, he was gung-ho and ready to just get on that. And that's basically where both have come into play, is that we're not only booked 5 days a week for flooring, but we also have installation for all the cabinetry. That wasn't part of.
What about like when how quickly was it for you, and what was did you find that, where you alluded to networking, did you find that getting in with a bunch of people like-minded was helpful because it connected you to the city?
100%, because as you're knocking on doors. I wanted to jump. I was jumping in full force. I try to do everything. I found information. Even within our networking group, what are you guys doing that I should be doing, or I'd like to see it, try it, how successful? Because for one industry, it might not be successful. For another industry, it is. And so I pretty much, I try to touch everything at least once to see if this is something that we should be doing or not doing. And not being from here, I wanted to get to know the neighborhood as quickly as possible.
And that was key, hooking up with Raph, right?
Yeah.
Even though you put him through hell buying your house.
Because we didn't know the area. I told him, I promise I'll only do that once to you.
Right. 20 homes.
It won't happen.
20 homes, and he texts me, he goes, "Oh my God, is this normal?" I go, "No, they're Canadian. It's just they want to make it right the first time, and then they'll be fine."
Yes. Yeah. It happened one time, and because I've driven up and down I-4 to go to the beach when I've come on vacation. I've driven past Lakeland a dozen or so more times. The sign didn't even register.
Right. And what you see on the highway is not what the city is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, lessons learned for Canadian coming down here. What would be the top 5 things, if you can remember 5? I'll tell you when you get to 3, so you know.
Okay, top 5 things would be maybe research an area that if you've spoken to a business broker, research the area to which you're going to be so that you don't drive your real estate agent crazy. Um, don't come in with a mindset that I am doing this,
Okay.
because might come down and realize that's not the business. It may have worked where you're from, but it may not apply to the area you're moving in, and something might be beneficial for long term.
That's important because different cultures, even though you're our neighbor, different
Yeah.
things work in different cities. Don't buy what you like, buy what the
Yes.
community likes, right?
Yeah.
And
You.
garage floors, people don't think about it, but we don't have basements and we live in our garages.
Yeah. It's an additional room.
Yeah, and it's you would like, why are people doing that to the garage? Because we live in our garages here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all your storage goes. So if
Yep.
you don't have, or even if you do have an attic access in your garage, you need play. You don't,
Right.
unless you want to.
You're either doing this or you're buying a storage unit.
Exactly. And those can get expensive if you're renting those for 10 plus years.
140 bucks a month. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
That's pretty
Right.
quick.
That's two.
Um, Let me think of a third one.
Visas.
What's that? Visas?
What'd you learn about visas?
Visas. Don't take advice from people who don't do the work. If a good lawyer will be worth their pound in flesh for sure. Like,
Pound
make
and
sure,
flesh.
yes, make sure that you get a lawyer that knows
How
what
do
they're
you know
doing.
who's a good lawyer though? Because there's
I
some
would,
crappy ones.
my biggest recommendation would be to get references from them. So if you contact a lawyer, um, if it doesn't come from a business broker like yourself who's worked with an immigration lawyer on a regular basis, so you know their work, I would ask that lawyer if they have references that they would be allowed to call to
Yeah.
make sure. I mean, they would have to contact them, but I would definitely ask
And
them.
and I would add to that, you know, make sure you're talking to the lawyer and the lawyer's doing the work, not the paralegal.
Yes, 100%.
There's a couple in Toronto that are doing, oh, we're a big firm, and you never hear from the lawyer, and it's a paralegal doing it.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah, big red flag. So
There
again,
could be messages if you have a question and they've got to go back to the lawyer, then you're getting broken telephone versus asking directly to the lawyer. Yes.
okay. So that's
Yeah.
3. You got 2 more to go.
I'm gonna go.
What
If you're
about acclimating? What about acclimating children?
acclimating children. Okay, well, I have 2 teenagers, so it'll be a little different for people that have small people. I think acclimating small people will be a lot better than, or easier, I should say, than bigger children.
Right.
Um,
But yours came out of COVID, right? So they were coming out like a year and a half of lockdown.
2 years of lockdown.
Yeah.
um, I would say try to, if they're interested in an activity, no matter what it is, try and find something immediately, because the sooner, if you've left an area and they're in an activity, the longer you wait, the the less they miss that activity. So if you can get them in as soon as, even if it's not one that you're going to stay for a long time for, but just enough so that when they're, making new friendships, or at least, talking to friends, or people that have the same interest in them, but get them in something as soon as possible, because there's less of a transition. They won't miss it as much. And it also helps them build, because kids make friends so much faster than we do as adults. And so I feel like it will help them not maybe become homesick,
Yeah.
because
It's something like most brokers don't talk about is the kids, right?
yeah,
And the kids are, it's not just the parents who are buying the business, it's the family that's buying the business, and the family's part of it. And if the kids aren't acclimated, if the kids aren't happy,
these have,
it bleeds into the family. Daddy ain't happy if mama ain't happy. Well, guess what? If the kids are miserable, mom's miserable, dad's miserable, and then the whole thing collapses. And
yeah,
you got to make sure that they're going to get into schools. Shameless plug for my advice.
yeah,
And let me add to this. When you come from another country, you're indoctrinated. That's not a bad word. It's the only word I can come up with, into a process. And when the visa hangs over your head, you're worried about
yeah,
always staying within compliance. And
right,
let me figure out how to say this appropriately. You got to remember you're in a new world.
Right.
and the rules are different here.
Yes.
And schools don't talk to cities, let alone talk to states, let alone talk to counties, let alone talk to. So you have to live your lives, stay in
Right.
compliance, do what you're supposed to do according to your status on your visa. But don't, the kids' mental health is part of that, and getting them into the schools and getting them acclimated and getting them adjusted and moving on is super, super important.
Right.
Because if they're involved in sports, they're happier, they're acclimating quick. And partly, I mean, you guys coming out of Canada and the crap you all went through with the lockdowns on the kids, it impacted them. And the
Yeah.
faster you get them into stuff down here, the faster they're up on their feet again and moving forward. So we need one more tip.
I would say if you're not one that would
Come
join a
on,
club.
build a tribe, right?
Well, yeah. So one of the major things that I made sure that we did is because, like, as a family, we don't join like a Lions Club or something along those lines. So we joined a church,
Yeah.
and that really helped as well, because as you have the community of people.
Mhm.
So no matter what your denomination is, I would absolutely 100% recommend. And the selection in Lakeland alone, you basically, it's like an interview process. So you just go in, sit down on a Sunday. If it feels like home, stay. If it doesn't, move on to the next one, probably next door, across the street, a few blocks over.
Yeah, we got a few churches here. Yeah.
Yeah, you have an abundance of selection of churches. So you can't say, oh, there's not enough here, because that don't exist.
Yeah, and I don't think it's so much a church thing. It's find your tribe. So I was referring to, like, you join BNI, and then every Friday you're having breakfast with these people, and those people are introducing you to people. And then, like, one of your first jobs was someone who was in BNI who I knew, who saw a post when you did my floor, and just go out and do things. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel stupid. It's going to feel like you're the stranger, but the reality is everybody is, and people are generally nice.
Yeah. And I've come across so many people that are not from Lakeland. I've come across more people that have come from another state or come from another country here than I have met actual locals who are born and raised. So the ratio of born and raised, or even just from Florida themselves, the ratio is way off. Like, it's like 10% of the people I meet here are from Florida, whereas everyone else is new.
Cool.
So I don't feel like I'm the new girl or new family in the hood, because it's like my neighbors are.
Yeah, everybody generally wants to help people, right? The only other thing I would add to that, and I think we alluded to it a little bit earlier, is, when people come from other countries, they kind of are afraid of, like, calling out local. Like, when the kids are in school, they may get a bad teacher, and they're like, well, it's the system, I can't rock the boat. We're a country that rocks the boat, right? And culturally, Polk County is a place that rocks the boat, like, a lot. So, don't be afraid to assert yourself and your rights. It's like you're from another country, but as far as we're concerned, you're us, right? So you have the rights to be a good parent, to be an advocate for your kid, all that stuff, but jump right in with both feet. So I need you to give a shameless plug for Garage Experts before I end it.
A shameless.
Yeah, Garage Experts for your garage organization needs, or something to that effect. Where can they get a hold of you?
Garage Experts of Lakeland. So it's you can find us on Facebook. All of our work's placed on there. So it's at Garage Experts of Lakeland. You could also visit our website, www.garageexperts.com/Lakeland. And all our numbers are listed on there.
Okay. And what's your website again?
www.garageexperts.com/Lakeland.
What's your phone number?
863.
She has to remember her American number, not her Canadian number.
I have a million numbers, so it's 863-270-3030.
All right, super. So Mike Shea, Transworld Business Advisors. If you have an immigration question, reach out to Shannon and ask. She's a real person who went through it. And or call me if you want to hear the dirty, management side of getting you through the process. All right.